You're not hired to sell a product, you're hired to solve a problem. And when I talk about the top 10 sales mistakes that people make, the number one mistake is having the wrong intent. So I often say that your job is not to make a sale, your job is to find out if a sale needs to be made. And there's a very different mindset going into an interaction there.
What do you find the most fascinating element of when you hear the word sales?
I don't know if it's the most fascinating because I expect it now, but it's people's ability to fight the desire to be labeled a salesperson. And they're obsessed with, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. And there's a beautiful irony, whilst they're trying to convince you of that, they're actually selling. If you genuinely hand on heart believe on your product or service, you have a responsibility to learn how to articulate its value. And I think people fail because they're so resistant to be seen as a salesperson. But the lessons are along the way that sales is impact, sales is a process, sales is a culture. I remember Glenn saying to me after the show, he says, what do you think my role is now? And I was like, oh, you're going to tell me how to grow my business? He's like, I'm never going to tell you anything. I'm just going to challenge your thinking.
If you were to get on stage tomorrow, are you still nervous or are you good now?
I'm still nervous,
Yeah.
but I've realized that that's good. When the nerve stops, that's bad. And that means you stop caring.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you.
So before the awards, the co-founding Swish, the reputation, who was Ryan Tuckwood? And what belief about yourself did you have to outgrow?
This could be the whole podcast. I'm still outgrowing them. Before it all, I'll preface it by saying I still am. I think it's still there. I've just learned to live in a better version of me. Engineer by trade. Prior to that, I didn't want to be an engineer. I wanted to be a football player, like every English kid growing up. Soccer, of course. Still think that I can make that dream a reality vicariously through my two boys. But I was an engineer for 8 years in the UK. So on the tools, very process driven, very methodical in everything that I did, risk averse, and lived a very comfortable life. I had a good income. I owned property, had a girlfriend of 5 years. Mum and dad loved me. I don't really have a sob story. Mum and dad loved me. Had a good upbringing. We didn't have money, but they were good. And then I had a quarter life crisis at 27. And I remember coming home one day to my ex-girlfriend and dinner was ready, as it always was. And we started watching a soap opera, Emmerdale or Coronation Street in the UK, similar to Neighbours and Home and Away. And I remember just sitting there thinking, is this me? I was 26 maybe. I'm like, is this my life? And I decided that no, it can't be. There's got to be something else out there for me. And I didn't know what it was. I just always thought that I was born in the wrong country and I should have been born in the sun. And I had this a guy called Merv, a Scottish guy, in my ear for years at the engineering plant, talking to me about his dream to move over to Australia and how he nearly went with his ex-wife and he never did, and he always resented her for it. And I just had him saying to me, you got to go. You never know what this could lead to. And eventually I decided to leave and make the move over here as a backpacker in 2010.
How do you go from engineer, left brain, to sales? Is that a conversation? Is it an experience? Is it the pain? How did that happen?
Well, sales was never the plan. I didn't really have a plan as such, apart from the fact I didn't want to get back into engineering. I got very close. I don't talk about this often, but I actually went up to a place called Rockley, just south of Brisbane, a very industrial area. And one of the old engineering plant managers was running the plant up there in Brisbane. And I thought, I'll go and have a look just because I could get a job easy. And it was paying better than I paid in the UK, working less. I think it was 3 days on, 4 days off. Okay. Whereas before I did 4 days on, 4 days off. And I went in there and it was so hot in there. And I saw, we used to make big beverage cans. So it was sheet metal fabrication. And I remember watching these cans come down, thousands, hearing the same noise that was in the UK, the heat. And then I looked around, and this is going to sound horrible, but it was just middle-aged fat men that just looked like they were hating their lives. But I know they would have been earning some good money. And I got the train back from Rockley to the Gold Coast, and I'm like, I can't do it again. I can't go back in. I've just got out of this after 8 years. I know I'm in the sun now. I can't do it. And then I was playing football at Broadbeach United Soccer Club, and one of the guys there, Jack, who'd become a good friend of mine, he was a sales manager in a call center in between all of this, I took a job at Pac Fair. I was working in a clothes shop, and he's like, mate, come and work on the phones. Come and do phone sales for me. I was like, I can't think of anything worse. And I decided to give it a shot. I was horrendous. I was like the worst one in there for the first 3 months straight. I was 21st out of 21 people. I got an ultimatum from Jack one day where I handed my notice in. I decided that it wasn't for me. And that ultimatum changed my life because he gave me a timeline to succeed. And he never called it this. He just said, give me 60 days. Give me 60 days to prove to you that sales is a process, is a system, it's a skill that can be learned. And at that point, what he did, I don't know if he meant to do this, but what he did was remove my attachment to selling. What he did was say, if you don't improve in the next 2 months and you're still bottom of the board after fanatically obsessing over sales and communication, if you don't go from 21st to 20th, I'll pay for you and your girlfriend, my ex-wife now, Alicia, to fly wherever you want in the world, but leave with your head held high knowing you gave this a really good go. So what he did was take my care away from the sale because it didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was I got to get through 60 days and this guy's going to pay for my flight. So when I stopped connecting to the commission, I started connecting to the person. And what I realized was through all of the study and all of the training that there were patterns, there were processes just like engineering, that if I intro myself in a certain way, then I'm going to get an extra 30 seconds on the front end. If I ask this question here instead of this question here, I get a different response. Why do people open up to me if I put that question there instead of that question there? I'm asking all the same questions everybody else is asking, but now people are opening up more to me. They're asking me a question when I say this then. So I realized very quickly that being an engineer was actually my lucky charm because I was process driven and I could, like in engineering, if something breaks, you take one thing out. And if that doesn't fix it, you put that thing back in and then you try and take something else out. What I saw people doing in sales was I'll take that out, it's not working. I'll take that out and they never put anything back. So they never really isolated what was going wrong. What I was able to do was really isolate what was working, what wasn't working and move things like methodically. And I went from 21st to first in 5 weeks.
Wow.
And then within 18 months, I did $334,000 in commissions. And I'm like, I like sales. Sales is good. But the lessons are along the way that sales is impact, sales is a process, sales is a culture. Like everybody plays a part in the sales process, not just the person on the phone at that particular moment in time. That made me fall in love with sales because I never loved sales. I fell in love with how to sell. And then there's a difference. And when I realized that it was a how and it was a process, then anybody could learn this.
Do you recall the first sales system that you learned, like that framework?
Jordan Belfort. Yeah.
Straight line?
Yeah, straight line. It was, across the board. So basically when Jack gave me that ultimatum, I was given books, I was given DVDs. There was Jim Rohn, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Ron Willingham, Integrity Selling, 21st Century. I remember them all. I can see them all. But the main video series was the Jordan Belfort series. And I got given the big straight line handbook. And say what you want about Jordan, like it worked. He wouldn't have gone to jail if it didn't work.
Yeah, true.
He just used it for the wrong reasons. And when I saw that straight line, I don't agree with the straight line, but when I saw it, I said that's a process, that's a system. We have our own version. We call it the negotiation ladder. Straight line starts at hello and finishes at the sale. Ours starts at prep and finishes at repeat, referral, loyal clients. So we go way beyond the sale. So yeah, Jordan Belfort was the first person that really helped me understand that it was a process. And then randomly in 2020, I was his MC in Sydney and Melbourne for Sasha Carabut. Imagine you know Sasha.
That's unreal.
For Push Peak. Yeah. So that was a full cycle moment. And I wouldn't say I met my hero, but he definitely played a pivotal moment. Not that he really cared.
Did he live up to the expectation when you met him?
He lived up to my expectation of who I thought he might be. Yeah. And take that however you will.
What do you find? So like, you've been in the sales world for a long time. Like, what do you find the most fascinating like element of when you hear the word sales?
Most fascinating. I don't know if it's the most fascinating because I expect it now, but it's people's ability to fight the desire to be labeled a salesperson. And they're obsessed with. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. And there's a beautiful irony. Whilst they're trying to convince you of that, they're actually selling.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating, is that some people can really put up a good argument.
Yeah.
So they are brilliant at sales. And other people just don't like the word. And I'm not going to say that's wrong, because I think that sales is a dirty word. And unfortunately, it is a tarnished industry. And there are some really manipulative people that are in sales that are just doing it to make commissions. But equally, with 42%, we spoke about this earlier, 42% of our members are not in a direct transactional role. There's some beautiful people in business right now that have got great companies, a great product or service, and they are struggling because they are reluctant to allow themselves or give themselves permission to learn how to sell. And if you genuinely, hand on heart, believe on your product or service, you have a responsibility to learn how to articulate its value. And I think people fail because they're so resistant to be seen as a salesperson.
Interesting. So, I mean, sales is communication, right?
Yeah.
And do you think people, like, you know, you're an engineer previously, and you see that as your competitive advantage because you can, you feel process systems. Like, do you feel like most people have a good chance at winning at selling if they're diligent and they follow a process, they follow a system? Do you think they can win at it?
Everybody can do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so 12 is our youngest, 83 is our oldest that we've ever had do our boot camp, which is our flagship program. Everybody can learn a process. Not everybody has the discipline to keep following it. The key, and we talk a lot about human behavior. I think if there's an area that I've really kind of gone down rabbit holes in the last probably 4 or 5 years, it's the advancements of consumer behavior and just human behavior in general. And if you can tap into why somebody needs to learn how to sell, regardless of industry sector, experience, personality type, and you could speak their particular language, you can give them the process and just get them to follow it. But there's certain personalities where you think they'll be amazing at sales. And they're usually not. They're usually not the best, because they're the ones that have got the gift of the gab. They'll be the ones that will tell you I can sell ice to Eskimos, which they shouldn't be doing. And they will follow a process for a short period of time, and then they'll get bored, and then they'll change the process. Whereas I'm a C, a conscientious personality type in accordance with DISC. So you give me something that works, I'll just keep doing it. I won't chop and change. I won't deviate. So our best salespeople are that I've seen. This is in 11 years of Swish. I don't have data outside of Swish. Are female S personality types, the steadies.
Makes sense.
It makes so much sense because they have a default to actually caring about people. Like I'm not saying everybody else doesn't, but they really care. But what that real caring nature stops them wanting to learn sales in the first place. But if you can turn that on and then give them the process, they'll just keep doing the same thing.
Yes.
Because there's a weird paradox of the less trained you are, the more salesy you sound.
Yeah.
And they go, I don't want to sound salesy. I'm like, but you sound salesy because you don't know how to sell. And they'll say things like, I'm just following up, I'm just touching base, I'm circling back around. And all of these words then raise sales defenses, which mean they sound salesy. And then I just don't get it. I'm such a nice person. I just want to help people. It's because they've got a resistance to acknowledge that they're in sales in the first place. What
about high I's for males? I mean, naturally, you know, they think they're good at sales.
Yes.
What's your
they're good at everything. That's right. They can be good. They can be good if you can get them to have the discipline around a process. Anybody can be good.
Yeah.
But they get bored. I always say they have most of the records in a company, the highs and the lows. Because they'll go, oh, this is working, this is amazing. And then they'll go, oh, I got bored. And they'll take that bit out, as I mentioned. They'll forget they took that bit out. And within 2 weeks, they're so far away from the fundamental process that you created for them. So you just have to stay on top of them, like constant accountability and attach like quick rewards to it, to their results. Whereas the S's and the C's, they've got more of that delayed gratification. They're prepared to wait for it. But again, you got to manage expectations.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't have a one size fits all onboard or sales conversation or any sort of communication, because everybody's slightly different.
Do you think people that are C's like you, that you've seen, like whether male or female, their advantage is that they just methodically do follow a process and they don't come across as salesy?
Well, the counter to that is that they come across robotic as well. So like I could give loads of engineers the process of our negotiation ladder. So, right, this is how you prep, this is how you do your intro, this is how you frame, these are your discovery questions. but it won't sound natural.
Yep.
Because maybe they don't have the social skills. So then there's other aspects that you need to train to them. Whereas if I've got an I, they're not scared to pick up the phone. You got to see, like me, I remember sitting there for an hour, just terrified to pick up the phone to speak to a human. Whereas the co-founder, Jack, he couldn't fathom it. He genuinely could not understand that I had a debilitating fear of speaking on stage. His coaching advice would be, mate, get out there and have some fun. Like that doesn't compute to a C. I'm like, no, I need to know which leg do I move first before I step on stage. I'm like, my legs aren't working, bro. Like, I'm not joking. It's not working. So there's different challenges for all of them.
You mentioned Jack. So how did you guys meet? And I guess what problem were you guys looking to solve when you co-founded Swish?
And we met at football, so through the Broadbeach United Soccer Club community. He's what I class as a natural entrepreneur. I'm a fabricated one. He's like, I'm always like he's always thinking about building something or solving problems. So he was running like a 100-person solar company at 19 years old for context. So by the time I met him, I want to say he's in his early 20s or something. Okay. He's the sales manager. So then he retired. I think he retired like 24, something like that.
Okay.
So then that kind of paved the way for me to take over his old role in the call center. And then we were just always we stayed friends once he left. We were going for a coffee one day. No, we went for beer. Tell a lie. Went to Edgewater on Isle of Capri. Okay. If you know Isle of Capri. And we were just talking about the struggles that I was having as a sales manager, and that we couldn't be the only sales managers that struggle with hiring, retaining, training, onboarding, managing expectations, being a counselor as a leader, and probably about 2 weeks after that conversation, I found out that the company I was working at were not as ethical and morally aligned as I thought they were. So I found that out on a Saturday morning. I literally walked in on the Monday and I handed my notice in. And then on the Tuesday, Jack and I had another conversation and said, let's start a company that helps people hire quality sales talent and we'll train them before they even start in the job. Okay. So we started a recruitment agency. Basically.
Interesting.
So 2014, it started as we said non-for-profit, but Steve Baxter, one of our investors, labeled it not profitable, which is very different. We started as a non-for-profit sales recruitment agency. So we'd put on a 2-day training event for free. We would then advertise jobs for local businesses that were looking for salespeople. And at the end of those 2 days, we'd take about 10 to 12 people every week and we'd do this training course.
Yeah.
And on day 3, business owners would sit in a panel. This was at 50 Cavill Avenue on the Gold Coast. And you'd have 9 minutes. Each candidate would walk in, sit in front of all of the panel of business owners and get interviewed for 9 minutes. And then they could offer a job to whoever they wanted and the job seeker had an opportunity to accept the jobs. We had a 96% success rate. We placed 2,500 people in 3 years.
Wow.
We won multiple awards for it. And that catapulted us into the corporate world because our aim was to take Ben, who's never sold before, you're 17, 18 years old. Our aim was to turn you into the number 1 performer in that company in the first 10 weeks. That was like our internal goal. And it happened more often than not that the business would then come back and say, hey, this guy's killing it. Like, can you train the rest of our team to do what you just did with him? And he's like 17 years old. And that's how we made money then through corporate training.
I love it. What was that business called?
It was called IS. It started off as International Sales School, Gold Coast, so ISS. It was the same year that ISIS came out and their SEO was way better than ours. So we had to change it so we changed to ISR, so International Sales Recruitment Gold Coast, so International Sales Recruitment Gold Coast. So we were like, think big, but not too big, just Gold Coast. And then eventually we changed it to ISR Training. And then I think it was 2020, we rebranded to Swish, which was the best thing we ever did.
Who came up with the name Swish?
I think I did. We've had this conversation several times. We think I did. So we were talking about a rebrand. ISR never really meant anything. It certainly didn't speak our message to the market. And Jack and I were having a conversation about a potential rebrand once, and he said, "Is there anything you ever say like consistently that kind of says our message?" I said, "I don't know. When I start training, I just go, guys, today I'm going to show you how to sell with integrity and sell honestly." And he was like, "Say that again." I was like, "Sell with integrity, sell honestly." And then we both went Swish. So I don't know, it was kind of always there as an undertone. No, it must have been earlier than that because we had it on the Shark Tank thing, on the banner. So it must have been like 2018. that came about, but we didn't officially rebrand until about 2020 because the sharks were a little bit resistant to it.
Okay.
Because we had 1.1 million viewers on our episode known as ISR. And they were like, you got to keep that attention whilst you've got it. So it took a bit of time after the episode.
It's a powerful name.
Yeah, I love it now.
It's best. It's like, for a sales company, it's like the best I've heard.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, like you're sold right away.
It's become, I tell you what happened as well, man, on the back of that rebrand, and it was tangible as well, we repelled all the people we didn't want, like instantly. We got rid of all the Jordan Belfort wannabes. We got rid of the majority of, real estate agents. We got rid of all the people that just wanted to make a quick buck, that just wanted to learn how to sell to make commissions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the personality type of that compared to what we have now, 42% not in a direct sales role, 32% females, is very different.
Yeah.
So our methodology works better with them because it is a relationship based methodology. It's not just about smashing somebody over the head. So the rebrand did way more than we expected.
Whose idea or how did it come about for you guys to get on Shark Tank and pitch?
Jack's. Yeah, Jack's the crazy one. Yeah. So I remember this was November 17, maybe early December. He came up to me in the office one day and he goes, what do you think about going on Shark Tank? Now I knew we both love Dragon's Den, which is the UK version. And my response was, that's a stupid idea. Why would, we'd spent from 2014 to 2017, we're 3 years in, we're doing, in my world back then, we're flying, right? We're getting a wage now. It took us 2 years to get a wage. And I'm like, mate, we're killing it. Why would we take our business, which is teaching people how to sell or pitch, onto TV and pitch? Because if we fail, our business basically doesn't work. That's Jack hadn't got that far in his thinking. He doesn't do that.
That makes sense though.
It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Right? And then he said, that's a shame because we've already been accepted. And this is what I mean by, like, you've got to learn to speak other people's language. Jack knew that I would probably respond like that, and he knew that I wouldn't have wanted to do it. So he just applied anyway. And then I'm just in damage limitation stage. He told me the date that it was due, which was March the 5th, 2018, which was the filming day down in Sydney. That was my wedding anniversary. So I said, oh mate, I'm going to Bali. Like I didn't want to go on at this stage. I don't speak on stage. I don't go on. My socials are still closed. I didn't like any of this stuff. So I said, oh, well, you'll have to do it yourself. Jack's pretty happy to do that. I'm like, sweet. So he's going to go on. We'll practice beforehand, blah, blah, blah. And then about 2 weeks, no, a bit longer than that, about a month out, this Scouse guy called Jake, who was, you get given like I guess you call it a coach, a producer, because you have to do psychiatric testing, police checks and everything before you go in. And he rings me up and he said, Ryan, I think you should go on with Jack. And I was like, oh, no, it's not really my arena. Like Jack's got the gift of the gab. This is his arena. And he says, Jack's quite polarizing. Like they're either going to love him or hate him really quickly. And if we can bring another business partner on, it gives us double the chance of maybe getting an offer. So I says, all right, leave it with me. I'll think about it. Procrastinated as I do for a couple of weeks, spoke to my ex-wife about it. And she's like, yeah, you should go on. So we got 2 weeks out. I rang Jake. I said, mate, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go on with him. I'm sweating as I'm calling him. And he's like, mate, we haven't got time to do your checks now. You need to do police checks, you need to do your psychiatric testing. We've got no time to do it now. You can't. So in my head, I'm like, yes. Right, I told everybody I'm going to do it. Didn't really want to do it. He said, just come down, be there on the day, but you won't be able to go into the tank because you haven't done all of the checks, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, this is perfect. I'm still there. I get to dress up in a suit. So anyway, we go down. We film it. Jack goes in to film it. He's in there about 45 minutes. And then one of the runners comes out and there was like, Ryan from Swish, from ISR. I was like, yeah, this is we need you. They said, you've got some offers. So they said they'll call me if we've got offers and we'll just be able to negotiate it at the back and then Jack will go back in. I was like, okay, cool. So we start running. We have to go outside at the studio and it was raining. And as we're going, there's a lady putting a mic on me and then there's another lady putting up makeup on me. As we're running, like, I'm like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, one of the sharks, Steve, had said they want to see the business partner. So you're now going to go into the tank. And I'm like, I haven't done my police checks. I've got nothing on my record, but I'm like, I'm freaking out. Hey, like I'm sweating. And then Jack comes out and he says, yeah, we got 4 offers. And I'm like, amazing. And so then we talk back and forth. We disagree on what we both wanted. Like I knew that nobody had ever got 3 before in the history of the show. So I'm like, I think we should try and get 3. We had 4, including Janine as an offer. And then Jack says, I think we should just get Steve. We should just get 1. One head, 1 focus. I was like, let's get 3. Anyway, we ended up going back in. I'm bricking it. And we walked out with 3 offers. So you see from all of that, it was about 2 hours altogether in the tank, and you see about 12 minutes on TV. And the first words I say when I walk out are, I'm the little one. I don't know.
Was like Jack confident that you guys were going to win?
Jack's always confident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
Jack's got this an unwavering belief that whatever he puts his mind to, he'll succeed at. And 90% of the time he does. And I needed him in my life for that amount of years to get 10% of that. And that's why I say like I'm more of a manufactured entrepreneur. He has that. I don't know if it comes from family. Like he had quite a rough upbringing, very different upbringing to me in that regard. And he built a level of resilience that comes with that then kind of fell into confidence. He's just an action taker. Just roll the dice. I'll just take a gamble. Whereas for me, I was never really like that.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can channel that because I was with him for so long. I have data to suggest that the more times I roll the dice, the more chances I've got of succeeding. And it serves me exceptionally well now.
What's been like? Okay, actually, let me rewind. Post that whole episode, where you guys got investment, the 3 sharks came on. Like, what happened after that? Like, did business blow up? Like, what transpired?
It blew up, yeah, for sure. I mean, we had 1.1 million, as I said, viewers on that particular night. Little side note, we only had 1 chatbot on the website. So that night we had thousands of people messaging, and we had 1 like automated response. We found them all in WordPress months later. All these people going, I want to sign up. How do I pay for your trade? We just missed it all. We were totally unprepared. So yeah, it did blow up. But what it did, it gave us credibility in an uncredible space. And it opened up doors to like some Mercedes-Benz, Westpac, Amex, and it gave us badges, which gave us then leverage into smaller businesses, I guess. So a lot of the Mercedes-Benz, for instance, I'll talk about it many years later now, it was a loss leader. It was a terrible deal for us commercially, but we got the badge.
Yeah.
And once we got that, we're still getting Mercedes-Benz dealerships now, 7 years later. They come to us, say, oh, we know you did the C-suite. We did their training. Yeah. So they hired us to come in and not train Swish curriculum, but train like the global head office out of Germany. We are now their facilitators.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. And then government opportunities came up as well. So it definitely gave us a lot of credibility. For me, I can't speak for Jack, but for me, what it did was give me a confidence. I'd never had a business before. This was my first business. So I don't know. I don't know if it was good or not. It sounds good. I enjoy it. I'm making a little bit of money, not a lot, but I'm making a little bit of money. But when Steve, Andrew, and Glenn, they put their due diligence teams, because it took 6 months after filming, 6 months of due diligence from filming. It aired in July, and then we got the money in September.
Okay.
So for those 3 to put their very, very smart, sophisticated DD team and get them to look under the hood of our business, to trial our training, like Andrew put some of his team through our online training, to then go, that's actually really good, guys. Like that gave me a confidence to go, it's actually okay, cool. It's actually all right, is it? And now we train their portfolio of companies as well. So
amazing.
Big catalyst.
What was it like having the 3 sharks? Like, obviously, did it live up to expectation in terms of what you were expecting regarding advice and strategy, all that stuff?
I didn't really have an expectation.
Okay.
I mean, my only expectation was as soon as the cameras stop, you go around the back and I thought they'd give you some money in an envelope. So I was very naive to it all, to be fair.
Okay.
I mean, they're still with us. 7 years later, they're still, all 3 of them are still with the business. What I will say is I didn't maximize the relationship in the early days. I think rightly so. I think I put them on a pedestal, and I'm like, I don't want to annoy them. I don't want to call them and ask them questions. But now, 7 years later, they're friends. I call them, I can email them, I text them whenever I want, and I can get advice. So I think in the last few years, I've worked with them a lot better than I did in the early days. But Yeah, they're phenomenal. Like even through COVID, I think, so Jack exited in Jan 2020. And when was it, March or April was lockdown?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I've got this business, Jack's now gone. And I'm like, the whole world's closing down. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I can keep my team. I've got a young kid. I've got another one on the way. And just speaking to Steve, Andrew, and Glenn, even individually, every single one of them was so excited about the opportunity of COVID. And that's just experience. And I think that's what I bought, the calmness. They gave me peace of mind to go, hey, it's going to be all right. Like that was important.
It's great, that different perspective, how that, that reframe, like they look at it as an opportunity when everyone's fearful during COVID. It's nice to hear that, hey?
It's an accidental naivety, right? It's a beautiful place to be initially, but if they've been through it 3 or 4 times, that's what they're there for. I mean, I remember Glenn saying to me after the show, he says, what do you think my role is now as your shareholder, investor, business partner, whatever you want to call me? And I was like, oh, you're going to tell me how to grow my business? He's like, I'm never going to tell you anything. I'm just going to challenge your thinking. And he goes, and I've taken that on board as a coach. My job is not to tell people what to do. My job is to ask better questions so they can come to the conclusion themselves. Because he says, like, I'm not in your business every day. I don't know your industry like you do. He said he's not in sales. Bearing in mind he had 600 stores at one stage, 6,000 staff. Like he knows a thing or two about selling. And that's what I think they've all done exceptionally well, is they've challenged my thinking on certain things. So if I want to make a decision commercially, they'll just say, why are you making that decision? And it just makes me sit in it a little bit longer, really kind of validate why. And there's constant little repitches going on. And then sometimes I go, do you know what? I actually sat on that one again and it's not a good decision. I'm not going to do it. If it's categorically wrong, they're also equally quick to go, hey, we did this 6 years ago with another company like this. They went under. Don't do that. Yeah. You're like, okay, cool. And you don't really question it. You just go, cool.
Interesting what you just said then around him saying, like, I don't understand basically sales, your industry, and you said he's got 600 stores. And, some of the best salespeople that I've got in front of, like, doctor, just questioning, they always ask, like, where's it hurting here?
Yeah.
How long's that been? Like, just listening to that, even lawyers.
Yeah.
I find, and they don't think they're in sales.
No.
But they're phenomenal at asking questions.
Academics, because they can follow a process.
True.
But there's a resistance to be seen as a salesperson because I've got a qualification.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, Glenn Richards, he owns, chairman of Healthier.
Yeah.
So they've got loads of podiatrists, clinical physicians, physiotherapists. They're all in sales, but you're right. The questions, they're directly in accordance with our discovery methodology.
Yeah.
It's past, present, future, cost of inaction, partnership.
Yeah.
So what did you do past? How long has it been going on for? Was there anything that you did that made it, that caused you the pain in the first place? Okay, how's that affecting you today? All right, have you got anything that you're training for that you need to fix this by? Have you got any deadlines? What if you don't? Like they're asking the right sequence of questions, but I'm not in sales. Yeah. But if they ask those questions in the wrong order, then all of a sudden the patient, especially if it's a private company, they'll go, well, I'm going to go do some training by myself. I don't want to pay you $200 to help me fix it. Yeah. It's a sale. They're not a charity. They're fantastic once they understand that it's okay to sell in this environment.
When you came out with Swish to the market, was that like the purple cow, just in the sales space in terms of just like stood out like dog's balls?
I think if you look now, and I bet you will have seen it for sure, like the high ticket closer space and the remote workers space. Like I hate it. I absolutely hate it. There's no. You want to get me to say no to you as a friend request? Just put a high ticket closer or a remote closer on your profile. Like we were doing this in 2014. We were training people and putting them into jobs, but physically, like as in we're doing in-person training, and the business owner were coming to interview you for companies like Westpac and National Storage, like what I would consider proper companies. Yeah. I know that's lazy and it's a little bit insulting to some the online community. And there's people out there right now that are making way more than I was back then, right? I don't take that for granted. But I feel like we were the purple cow in that space. There was nobody else really doing that, not for free anyway. There was recruiters. Recruiters hated us. Like Hayes hated us because we were taking a market share. And they were, how are you doing this? Why are you not charging people? This is ridiculous. And we were saying this is a long play. Like we're placing 14, 15 people a week into work.
Wow.
And these were all candidates that they would have charged a percentage of their first year salary for. And they were lower value roles. They were call center roles or customer support roles, but they were still getting people off Centrelink.
Yes.
Like we saved the government $17.1 million in Centrelink payments in that period. So it was a valuable piece. And that's why it was so hard to walk away from it. But it was Andrew Banks, ironically, that's the king of recruitment in Australia. He's like, stop doing that. You've done enough. You've proved your worth now as sales coaches. You've got enough testimonials and evidence to suggest that you guys can train anybody in sales. Just be sales trainers now to the market. So that's when we then shifted. And now everybody's a sales coach. It's like half of my ex-people that we've trained are sales coaches.
What is it about the like high ticket closing or setting, like that remote, like what is it about it that pisses, like, or that you don't agree with?
Gives me the icks.
Yeah.
I think the way it's positioned, I think that it's positioned as a potentially a get rich quick, and I don't need to go to an office. I can work my own hours, and I'm sure there are elements of that actually work, and I know some people that do it exceptionally well. But I've seen disproportionately it doesn't play out like that. And the part that really kind of disconnects me, I guess, is that en masse, the people that are selling are not truly connected to the company that they're selling for. True. They've been hired to sell a product.
Yes.
And that's very different to what we teach, right? You're not hired to sell a product, you're hired to solve a problem. And when I talk about the top 10 sales mistakes that people make, the number one mistake is having the wrong intent. So I often say that your job is not to make a sale, your job is to find out if a sale needs to be made. And there's a very different mindset going into an interaction there. What I've seen...
So is that like a disqualification? Is that...
Well, it's more so like if I'm coming in here to have a sales conversation with you today, I come in here with absolutely no agenda on what product or service I'm trying to push, right? I don't even know. I have a suite of services behind me, of course, that I could offer. But my primary objective as a sales professional is to sit in front of somebody and go, is there a sale that needs to be made today? By virtue of focusing on that, I focus on you, not coercing you to where I want to go towards a product.
Got it.
And that means you got to ask better questions. That means you got to slow down to speed up. So I got to ask right questions, right time, right tone. And then I have a duty of care and a responsibility to sell to you if I've got the intelligence to say, hey, my service solves the problem that you might not have even known you had. Whereas, I see this on the speaking circuit as well. Speakers go on stage. And I've literally heard this backstage where people are in the green room and they're going, how many units are you going to close today? Like they're talking about a crowd of 1,000 people and they're calling them units. I'm like, the humans out there, like they're, and I know it sounds really cheesy, but we have to reinforce it so much. Guys, there's a human being behind the other end of the phone or the Zoom or in the room that you're sitting in. And there's a ripple effect of the decision that they make today, not just you making $200, $2,000, whatever it is. And I've just seen and I'm talking thousands now. I've spoken to so many in that space where I'm not hearing enough of that conversation. And I think we could shift it. Like I think if I was to have remote workers, which I do, but not from a sales perspective, I'd want to make sure they're totally aligned with my product. Yes. And they know why they're selling it. I'm not just a high ticket closer that sells these cans and these mics and these sales training courses. I'm selling something that I actually 100% believe in. Otherwise, it disconnects.
Are you familiar with the Sandler selling system?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind Sandler.
I feel like that's a bit aligned with what you're sharing now.
Sandler's very, I won't say it's old school, but it still stands up. It's very consultative. It's quite Americanized, but it still stands up, yeah.
Yeah. How important is, like, you're talking about obviously a high ticket closer, just here to sell cans. They don't give a shit about vision or what's going on with the company, but how important is conviction for a sales rep? Like beyond like the technicalities of like objection handling, all that stuff. Like if they truly believe in like the company and the product or the service, whatever's going on, and they like believe in it as much as like the founder, for example, like do you believe like they win more as a sales rep?
Oh, I think they win more for sure. Yeah, because they'll do the hard more.
Okay.
As we always say, the first sale is yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, let me just think, all of my team, bar one, have come through our programs. Wow. Every single staff member, bar one. because then they have natural conviction.
True.
And the one that came in, Caitlin, that didn't come through the training, she nearly didn't come to the interview because she saw it was a sales training company. She thought it was going to be like the Wolf of Wall Street.
The boiler room.
A boiler room, yeah. So, but now she's fully in, and she's in administration, but she understands she's in sales as well. Every email that goes out, every invoice that goes out, every time she picks up the phone, that's a sales experience that she's adding to our members or potential members. So she understands that. So if you can't sell yourself on why you should be doing it in the first place, you got to sit down and ask yourself. And it doesn't mean you would buy your product.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like I can sell something that I wouldn't use. I don't mean that. But you need to understand the true benefits to the person buying it. Like you've really got to sit in that and talk to people that have used it before. Like we do Wow Wednesdays where we share all the wins of our clients. Revisiting that often is so important. So we keep getting resold on it as well. Even me from stage, I'm speaking about this a lot recently because historically I've not sold from stage. Okay. It's just never been our thing. And if I'm being brutally honest, as I look back now, it's because I didn't have conviction that if I was going to sell en masse in the room, that without having a one-on-one conversation with people, I don't know you're going to benefit from my training. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah.
Whereas now I've done it enough, I've been on enough stages over the last few years, I know the way we've structured the training, I categorically know, regardless of your background, regardless of your challenges, I know 100% of people in the room will benefit from our services. So now I have a responsibility to do the hard. I don't like selling from stage. I've always veered away from it. It's not something I've felt comfortable doing, but now I've found a way to do it elegantly without it being you got 3 minutes to run to the back of the room or you're going to die.
Credit card.
Yeah. So we don't do that shit, right? We tell people when they register to an event, hey, Ryan will spend 5% of the event talking about how you can continue the journey. And we tell them when that's going to be. And if you don't want to sit through it, you can leave at that point and then come back in afterwards, right? So we're not kind of just corralling people into a room and then going, so this is objection handling. By the way, I've got a boot camp next week. It just doesn't feel right to me. So we figured out a way to do it. But now I'm like, I have a responsibility to do that because there's people in the room that if they don't hear that this exists, then their life is going to stay the same.
Yes.
And I think it's seeing the negative consequences of not selling to somebody is equally important as seeing the positive consequences of selling to somebody, because your product or service, what you have to offer as a buyer's agent, a buyer's agency, there'll be other buyer's agents out there, right? That maybe don't give a service as good as yours. If you don't sell to that person and they go and use them and they get a substandard service, that's your fault. And then I almost go, how dare you? How dare you not have the ability to sell to that person if you categorically knew your service was better, regardless of whether you're 10 grand more or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And that conviction sells.
I appreciate when I hear speakers like have transparency. Like you said, the 5% of this is going to be.
Yeah.
Like I love hearing like people just frame at the beginning, like, hey, at the end, this will happen. And then when it does happen, you're like, oh.
We say it before they even come to the event, when they buy the ticket.
It's great. So
don't come if you don't. And nobody leaves. Nobody walks out during it. Whereas and this is where studying people is really important, because we often say that all behaviors are state dependent. So every action or inaction is based on the state of mind of that person at that moment in time. So my job is to get you in the right state. And if I feel at any stage that you've coerced me into something or you've trapped me and I'm about to present to you, I've just changed your state for a negative. Whereas if I say, hey guys, we've got an event, the event's going to run for 7 hours, 5% of that is 21 minutes. So at 12:30 for 21 minutes, I'm going to talk about how you can continue the journey if you want. If you don't, you can go for lunch, come back in again afterwards. They're like, okay, cool, right state. So not only am I being upfront, but you actually receive the message better anyway, which obviously then increases your chances of making sales. And just telling people that, people, especially in Australia, it's different in America. They almost like sell to me.
I love it.
But in Australia and New Zealand, we absolutely hate it. Sorry, most people absolutely hate it.
And UK?
UK's somewhere in between.
Pretty skeptical?
Yeah, we're pretty skeptical. Yeah, but Aussies seem to be a lot worse.
Yeah, the Aussies are bad.
I mean, I'm an English sales trainer on the Gold Coast dressed like this. Like, as soon as I walk out, they're like, oh, Jesus Christ. And this is conservative today as well.
For the Goldie.
For the Gold. Well, yeah, for me in general. So I always say, like, I like being the best dressed person in a room by myself. Introvert by nature, but I love fashion. I love like kind of funky suits and stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got like a professional, you've got an S personality type. I spoke earlier about the government tender and Queensland Health and Queensland Education. Imagine you've got a bunch of S personality type nurses. Like they really just care about people. They're so resistant to being seen as a salesperson that I walk out in a pink suit. They're like, nah. So I need to understand at every stage of the interaction, what might the other person be thinking? And when you look at everything through the lens of the customer, not through the lens of selling, it all changes.
I think I've heard you say, people love buying but hate being sold to.
Yeah.
Like, how do you achieve that outcome? Like for someone listening to that, like how do you?
That was Tony Robbins that originally said that, where I heard that. So he said, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. And it's the feeling that I'm being sold to. So, when people say, oh, you're such a good salesperson.
Yeah.
That means you're a terrible salesperson, because a tactic shown is a tactic blown, right? If they can see what you're doing, that means you're not as good as you think you are. It should just be very conversational. It should be a dialogue between two parties. But the danger is, because we're not trained, and I touched on it earlier on, we say things that inadvertently raise sales defenses. So now I feel like I'm being sold to. A really obvious one is asking somebody what their budget is. And I had this discussion the other day with one of my clients. She's like, well, Ryan, we need to find out their budget. I'm like, listen to me again, right? I just said that if you say the word budget, you raise their sales defenses. I didn't say don't find out their budget. There's a difference between the two. So do you know Gong.io? G-O-N-G?
Yes.
Yeah. So Gong did a study on all language, and they surmised that if we ask what is your budget or use the word budget, it reduces your chances of making a sale by 32%.
Wow.
Just by having the word budget in the conversation. So I'm not saying that we don't find out their budget, but we just don't use the word. So I might say, Ben, I've been doing this now for 11 years. Right? That's called a value builder. Right? If there's one thing I've learned in that time, is that if I ask you your budget, it's going to induce you to lie to me. And I don't want to start the relationship with a lie. Now, at that stage, they normally laugh, which is great in the close. But what I don't want to do is insult you by sending out a proposal, some options, or a quote on something that's totally out of the ballpark. So put me in the right stratosphere. Where are we sitting here from a funding perspective to get the results that you're looking for? So I still ask the question, but I just don't use the word budget.
Yeah, funding perspective.
And investment. It just doesn't matter. And these are the things that we're doing by accident because people aren't looking at the data. Let the data dictate operations, and we've got so much AI. Like now, we can find out. Like we're creating something at the moment within Swish that's going to enable us to find out, obviously, what people are actually saying on phone calls. Because how many sales reps have people got? They go, oh, no, I said that. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You actually didn't. And you can have call recordings and you can listen to the recordings, but now we can have AI that can transcribe it, trigger me, send me an email and say, hey, Ryan, Ben said budget twice this week on phone calls. And you said to me, oh, no, I didn't. You did.
Yes.
And you said it at this point in this context as well. So we've got to let the data dictate the operations. Otherwise, you're going to be raising sales defenses and giving people that feeling of being sold to instead of helped.
I want to talk about being on stage. So you said initially, obviously, like most people, like shit scared to get on stage. Everyone is. Are you comfortable now? Like, if you were to get on stage tomorrow, like, are you still nervous or are you like good now?
I'm still nervous. But I've realized that that's good. I remember, so my public speaking coach, do you know Harry Singer?
Yes.
So I remember him saying to me, when the nerve stops, that's bad. That means you stop caring. So I kind of look for the nerves now. I'm like, I hope I'm nervous. And whether that's just genius by him, I'm not sure. And I use it to as my anchor to rechannel back to the audience. So who's going to be in the audience? Why are they here? Like, what have they left behind? Like people coming to our 3-day event in 2 weeks' time, people coming from US, UK, other side of Australia, New Zealand. They're leaving their family, they're leaving their kids, they're leaving their job for 3 days, taking time away. Like I really tap into that, and then it becomes not about me, it becomes all about them. And that really helps me appease those nerves. And then you marry that up with finally knowing what leg should I move first before I step on the stage? What is my first words out of my mouth? I remember Harry said to me, just master the bookends. So what are the opening words and what are your final words? And everything else will just fall into play. Everything else is training.
Does that work?
Yeah. And then I created something, I don't know, I think I made it up, that I call eyes off. Do you get nervous? Or I bet you're fine. Yeah.
On stage, I do, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't speak, obviously, like you do, but I definitely get fucking nervous.
Yeah. I think so for me, I remember Harry saying to me, when are you most nervous? I'm like just before or as soon as I'm up there. Because it's just eyeballs.
Yes.
Just looking at you, like entertain me, teach. And especially when you're dressed the way I am. So I created something called eyeballs off. So my aim is to get that eyeballs off me as quickly as possible. Okay. So usually my go-to seems to have been over the last few years. I'll walk out, my first thing is a command of grab a pen. I want you to write down the first word that comes to mind to describe how you're feeling. Right now, go. And I just get them all just, and that just gives me an opportunity to just swallow, just compose myself. And if you, I don't know if it's ever been out there, but if you were to watch the first like 30 seconds, probably not as much anymore, but in recent years of me walking out on stage, you'd probably just see one of them quick. I used to get a red rash on my neck. So eyeballs off really, really helps me.
I really like that. I'm actually speaking end of this month in the Sunny Coast for something. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, or just turn to the person next to you, give them a high five, say congrats on being here. Yeah. It's not about me. This is about you as quickly as possible. And then, especially with that word one, how are you feeling right now? Go. And then they'll go, excited, enthused, tired, need a coffee. Like, it just gets everybody involved. And you like often I'll get told my crowd work is good like a comedian. I'm like, it's not supposed to be a comedy show. But that helps me because I'm not a lecturer. I don't want to talk at people. I want to talk with people. And once you broke the ice with everybody, that for me makes me feel a lot more comfortable.
You were on Richard Branson's Necker Island recently?
Last year, a year ago. Yeah.
A year ago?
Yeah.
Was there like a specific, I don't know, conversation or moment that you had there that like just got you thinking?
Oh, that's a good question. There was several. Okay. I'll tell you some of the principles first that I took away from it, which I found really interesting, which I wasn't expecting. So firstly, it was never like a dream of mine to go and meet Richard Branson. I was not because I don't respect him. I think he's a phenomenal entrepreneur, but just because I never thought it would ever be possible.
Yeah.
It's like you don't dream something that you can't think it would be a reality. So just being there in itself. And I remember Richard on the first night, a couple of things he said. He does his opening sort of welcome to dinner in the evening, and then he gets on the table and he stamps on the table and he says, just so you guys know, every single table on this island is designed for dancing. And that was one of his, and that really kind of set the tone for everything, which was awesome. And then he also said, you are not going to leave this island the same person that arrived here when you leave in 5 days' time. And I'm like, oh yeah, mate, whatever. Walked off like totally different person. So it's like, it's a magical environment. But why is it magical? Because of the way they curated the audience. So I was the only one from Australia. There were 40 people, 22 people were post-exit. And I'm talking like billions, like the proper entrepreneurs and genuinely changing the world from a medical perspective, from an aerospace perspective, from a travel. Like I'm the sales coach. I can help you sell your stuff. And why that was important was the curation of the right audience, which has really kind of led to the way that I kind of curate my masterminds now and like my intimate training, was that the conversations were different. And what I mean by that is not one person ever asked me, how big's my team and what was my turnover? To really surface level vanity metrics that a lot of people will ask on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Not one person in 5 days ever asked me what turnover I had. It was almost like there was an assumed level of success just by virtue of being on the island. But what that meant was the conversations got deep really quick because you didn't talk about, so how long you been in the industry? It wasn't about that. It was like, where are you at on your journey? I remember I was sitting with a lady probably like 3 hours onto the island, and we're sitting on the beach together, elderly lady, maybe elderly, sounds bad, probably like 60. And we were talking about, I'd gone through a separation. I was talking about what happened in my relationship. She was talking about what happened in hers. And we're like crying together. There's this American lady in her 60s. I've been on this island like 3 hours. I'm like, what is this place? This is, I haven't cried for years. Why am I crying? This is mental. So there was loads of little moments like that. And then I had a really cool little out-of-body experience with Sir Richard. Talk about preparation firstly. I knew there was going to be panels each day. So each day there was like little workshops, and then there'd be like an interview panel, and we knew one of them was going to be with Sir Richard as well. I'm like, I've got to ask a question, right? You cannot miss this opportunity on his island to get to ask a question. So the mic's going around. I've gone back to like sweaty, untrained speaker Ryan, freaking out. No one cares. And I'm like, so I got the mic. I swear to God, it was shaking. And I've just asked him about the importance of ethical sales, and then also being someone that he's dyslexic, a big advocate for dyslexia. How important is it that kids learn about sales and communication so that they can verbally articulate their message? Anyway, so that was it. That went well. And then as we left, as we walked out of the main house, people, you had all these little electric buggies all over the island. And Richard goes, "Hey, Ryan, jump in." Like, so he remembered me from the question. So then I'm in this buggy with Richard Branson, and he's driving me back. It's like 6 minutes, felt like 4 hours. He's driving me back to my villa. And then at the end, as I get out, I got a little photo with him. And he just turned and he said, "Don't forget to be playful." And I'm like, this guy thinks I'm uptight. and whether he's probably right. So like, I was that guy on the island. I'm like, these guys are all so successful. I'm sitting there at breakfast with my notepad going, "So you've got avocado and toast and 2 eggs. Oh, I should be doing that." Like, this is me. That's how my brain works. And whether he picked up on that or not, I have no idea. But he just said, "Don't forget to be playful." And I really took that message home with me. So it was quite a surreal moment.
He seems to, like, from what I can see, like, fully live that way.
I mean,
it's insane.
I've seen it for a few days, but it feels like it. It feels like he's lived his whole life like that. I'm sure, like all of us, there's moments that the bits that you see where he's jumping out of planes and traveling around the world and hot air balloon and all that jazz. I'm sure there's so many hard moments as well, but he definitely intentionally builds fun into his day. There was, I might get this wrong, about 140 staff members on the island.
Wow.
For 40 people, 40 attendees. There was a DJ, there's tennis coaches, there's masseuses, there's jet ski. It was designed to have fun. It's a party island, and that's where he lives. That's his house, right?
So he lives there, like,
most of the year. Yeah, I mean, a lot of his traveling goes from there, so he travels around a lot. But that's his home. Yeah,
insane. Something you said just before resonated when you were saying that no one was asking like surface level shit, like how much turnover.
Yeah,
I'm in Byron, like. People ask me, I was interviewed on a podcast recently, someone said to me, like, what's the best thing about living there? I was thinking, surfs, like environment, like they're big things for me there. But like in the time that I've lived there in 2 years, I've had like 3 people, and there's a lot of successful people there, ask me what I do. No one asks you what you do.
Yeah,
they don't give a shit. They want to have deep conversations, understand who you are versus like, how big's your business?
Yeah.
How much money you make? Like,
do you like that?
I love it. It's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Because Sydney, everyone asks you every day, what are you doing? How much money are you making?
Yeah. And it's interesting because it gets you looking in more.
Yeah.
As well. And like, I remember just prior to that, so I had a hectic lead up to the trip. So I did, I went to Patrick Bet-David's office. Then
how's that?
Phenomenal. You could feel the culture there, right? Phenomenal. His presence. Fortuitously, I then went to a comedy show with him and his team in the evening where Vinny was performing. If you listen to the podcast. So like I got to experience that whole culture. Then the next day I went to Grant Cardone's office. I was there for 5 hours. I sat down with Jared. He gave me some great advice on how to reposition my offer. He said I was making all the same mistakes that Grant made in the early days. Then I did. So I literally got there, I want to say the Tuesday, I got there the Wednesday. Thursday I went to PBD. Friday I did Grant Cardone, and then the Saturday, Sunday I did a 2-day course with Eli Wild.
Wow!
So I had no downtime at all. So then I get on this island, and then the Monday morning I go out to Necker, and I've gone from 100 miles an hour, bang, 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 to just stopping. And it gave me like such reflection time to go like, what do I actually want? And if there's one thing that I've really built into my diary now, it's the what do I want time. It's the creative time instead of just appointment after appointment. I intentionally built a few years ago my diary to suit having my 2 kids and making sure that I can do the school drop-offs and pickups and go and watch them play sports, which I now do. But even deeper than that, like what does Ryan want? What makes me, like how can I fight that the trap of ending up achieving but not being fulfilled again, which is what I was doing with engineering. So I'm very conscious of it. Every time we think about a new twist in the business, a new offering, I'm like, is that going to give me daily fulfillment? I know you can't enjoy everything that you do, but it's something that I'm very, very aware of. And having those conversations on the island with many people that have already exited and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank and they're not fulfilled, that was like, I don't want to be like that. Like I've got no exit plan anyway. I never plan to exit this.
The energy in America is infectious, hey?
It is. It really is. I love it.
Yeah.
I do love it. I think they want you to win.
Yeah.
I do feel
so
that. And it's a bit upsetting. I've said this to a few people since, because I've been through my separation. If I didn't have my kids after that trip, I would dare say I would have moved over to probably Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have got me.
Final question, like fast forward 10 years, what do you want people to say that you've changed?
It's interesting because our whole mission is to change the perception of sales. But I'm also not deluded to think that we will change the perception of sales. I know it sounds a bit strange, right?
I get it.
Are we going to change 100% of the population's perception of an industry that's been tarnished for thousands and thousands? No, we're not. For the people that we meet, can we change their perception of sales? Yeah, I do believe we can do that. So what do I want to have changed? There's cheesy answers to that of like one person's life. I think like I often start our events by saying somebody in this room today, whether it's a one-day event, somebody's life will change today by virtue of what happens in the next hour. And I mean that now. And it took me a while to really believe that, but I believe that because I've done it so many times now. So if people look back in 10 years' time and go, do you know what? The lives that he changed were done with authenticity and with people not changing who they are, but becoming a better version of what they were supposed to be, then I'm happy with that. And if my boys came with me to Cairns, I had a gig up in Cairns a couple of weeks ago, and the company invited me to bring the kids along, and I did a 3-hour keynote, and the boys literally sat at the back of the room. And as I came off, Maverick said to me, he's only 6. He goes, "Dad, you made people happy today." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "There was people like laughing and stuff." And I'm like, "That's cool."
Yeah. Observant. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool. If my kids look at me right now and they go, "What does your dad do for a living?" He makes people happy. That's cool.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks.